I'm gonna show you 5 behind the back moves that you have to have in your game. Let's get started. For the first move, the ball side foot, you're gonna step past your defender's feet and tight to them. So if these 2 front chair legs where their feet, we want to be stepping past them, but not wide. We don't want to step out here because we want the defender to get turning. And if you step wide, they can slide in front of you. If you step tight, that's going to get them turning, and that's where this move's going to work best. If someone steps past me here, I'm going to try to really sprint or take a cross step to get in front of them, and that's where you're gonna really send a lot of defenders flying. So you can use this move when you're already on the move, but you can also use it for more stationary and taking a hard step into that space. Big thing you wanna keep in mind is keeping the ball kind of wide outside here. So foot tight, ball wide, or back. Either one is fine. And then from there, once you get here, you'll get them recovering. You're gonna pull the ball back behind the back. From there, your footwork options are hopping to get your feet squared, you can step back with that same foot that took the big step forward. Or you can scissors your feet, so the foot that stepped forward steps down first and then the other foot. That scissors works really good for driving into the other direction quickly. The step back really keeps all your options open, as well as the hop. And what those options would be is the shoot, drive, or get into pretty much any crossover you want, whether that's up between the legs. Another behind the back, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I have a double behind the back move for you. And a crossover, you know, really any types of change of direction, crossover move. One other one would be in and out. A tip for this, and almost all the dribbles that I'm gonna do in this video, except for the wrap behind the backs, we'll talk about those in a bit. You wanna think about having this second hand low weighting. And there's a few reasons for that. One, it forces me to get my hips lower, which is good because I'm in a better position to move either way. 2, by being low, I can take contact better. But most importantly, getting this hand low lets me get my hand on the ball sooner, giving me more time as the ball's coming up to get good control of it. So if I shoot, drive, cross over, whatever, I have better control. But on top of that, if my hand's on it low, I can get into counter moves like a double behind the back. We'll talk about that later. Another tip for this move and all the moves in this video is you want to make sure you're selling things with your eyes. But there's an exception with this rule at a certain point. So when I'm in front of my defender, I want to get looking past their hip here in the lane to make them think I'm looking to drive there to set the move up. However, once I get to about here, that would mean they're behind me. Right now, I can't see their eyes anymore. So using your eyes to sell the fake once you get past their foot isn't really gonna do a whole lot at that point. But setting it up early can help. And really all these moves, you know, we're gonna be going from one way and changing direction to the other. So we wanna think about using the eyes early. And I should note, to do all these behind the back moves, you're gonna have good ball control clearly. So if you want the fastest way to improve that, check out Ball on a String. It's pinned to the comments. It's helped thousands of players, and I know it'll help you too. Let's get to the next move. Next 2 moves are both wrap behind the backs, but with different types of footwork for each. So with the wrap behind the back, the motion's gonna be relatively the same for both of them, slightly different for the first one though. With this one, you wanna think about having the basketball go to your opposite side and then push it forward. So a cue that I like to give players to make these more comfortable is think about slapping your opposite side butt or having your wrist hit your opposite side butt or hip. And the lower you go with that touch, the lower the ball will go if you want to work on getting the ball lower. And for that snatch back I just showed you, or any flat back type dribble, you would hit the same side, but with the forearm, wrist, or hand. But on this one, it's generally gonna work best. We're gonna do a cross step, so we need a little bit of space. I'm gonna show you one for when you're a little bit tighter, but at the same time, we don't wanna do any behind the back move when we're really far away from the defender, because if I do any move far from the defender, you can see how right here, that's a perfect opportunity for them to steal the ball. But since we're taking this cross step, we need space to step through here with this foot. So you don't want to get too close where you don't have that space. Now, this is pretty much the only one where we'll be about arm's distance from the defender when we're starting the move. But as we're actually wrapping, we're going to be much less than arm's distance from the defender. And that's a big key for all of these. When you're actually getting into that release, you generally want to be, I'd say, elbows distance to the defender or closer. Now, some coaches will teach not to do this because they feel like you don't have good options from this, but that's not true. Here's some right now. The simplest and most obvious is to just keep going from a drive, and realistically 8 times out of 10, this is the scenario where you'd want to use this because it's just a really good one to keep you in stride when you're running and make a quick direction change. It might take a little work to get comfortable with that footwork of stepping across with this foot, but once you master that, it's a really great move for fast break situations. But you can use it in other situations as well if you've got these options. So you can come from this, boom, hop out into a step back. So we're just going right from this cross step and bouncing out. We can also go from this and stop and pull the ball back between the legs. Then you might say, well, the defender's gonna get that. No, remember what we just talked about. We're gonna take this step tight, right? And what's that gonna make them do? Turn and drop. We got space. And if you're saying to yourself, well, what if they don't turn or drop? Well, that's why you just continue going, which is the first option. Also, if they turn and drop, you can just bring that back foot forward into a shot. So to walk you through the footwork on that one more time, it would be wrap with that cross step and you're just squaring your feet to get into your shot. One quick secret on just about every player's behind the back, even the best guys like Kyrie and Curry, when they're doing a wrap, they look down at the basketball. You can probably not find a single highlight where they don't. That being said, you don't want to be staring at the basketball. Just take a peek down after it leaves your hand and then get your eyes up as quick as you can. If you want to practice it and take it next level, by all means, work on your ability to do it with your head up. Another thing to note on the wrap behind the backs is we're gonna let the ball go. We're not gonna have the second hand low waiting to touch the basketball on these because we want to not impede its progress and let it go forward more so we can also cover more ground. Versus if I have my hand on the ball here, it just feels more awkward to move fast with the basketball. So if I can push it out more, that's gonna help me get downhill faster. Okay, so what if we're really tight to the defender and I can't get that leg through? The other wrap behind the back is the shuffle. Now, here's some things to keep in mind with this shuffle. We do have to have this foot in a position where it can get around the defender. If it's any closer, then in those situations, you would maybe want to think about going this way, or you would need to go into a spin move to get around that. But if I can get this foot in a position in front, with enough space that I can step out or outside their foot, I'm okay. And with this one, you want to think about turning your body. So what you'll see a lot of players do is kind of turn with this foot in. And it's gonna be somewhere in between that wrap that I was talking about where you're slapping the opposite side butt and the one where you're hitting the same side. And that's because when you get turned this way, you can kind of do more of a regular flat back, but since I'm positioned this way, instead of putting the ball over here, it puts the ball over here. And with a little extra curl of the fingers and bringing it across that opposite side butt or hip, it's gonna push it more forward, or I can give it a little less snap to get it just outside their hips. And then as far as the footwork goes on the actual wrap, after you've made this little step in, you're gonna shuffle by kicking this foot back like this. Now, you can do a shorter shuffle by just not crossing your feet, because a lot of coaches will tell you, defense, offense, whatever, that you should never cross your feet because they don't want you to trip on your feet. But if I want to be able to cover more ground, which in a lot of game situations you do, crossing your feet makes sense. Watch this. Watch how far I get without crossing my feet. Watch how far I get when I cross my feet. I can cover a lot more ground a lot more quickly. Now, here's the key. I don't want to bring this foot down and have it land on the ground before this foot's got in the air. So I want both feet in the air for a second. If I do that, I should never trip over my foot. You can work on drills like this, just working on that footwork, if you're really worried about that, to make it a habit to not kick over your feet and get the coordination, but also to work on covering more ground. And your options from this are pretty much unlimited because you're basically landing with your feet squared, so you could shoot, crossover drive, pretty much anything you could think of. Another tip for protecting the ball on these wrap behind the backs, really every behind the back, always think about keeping your body between the defender and the basketball. A little protection with this leg by taking the cross step, right? Getting the ball to hit right around when it's at their hand height will help, but also having the ball out just a little bit wider than they can reach can help. Same tip on the shuffle. Keep your body between the defender as the ball's getting pushed out, or if you can push it real quick to get it behind their hands, and you can sneak it back there by getting it wide so it's out of the reach and or wide and low. That's a good way to help keep the ball protected by keeping it away from them. Try to get the ball to hit the ground right when it's going past their arms. So that way, there's less chance they're gonna be able to steal it. It's hard to move really fast with your hands all the way down here. So if you can get the ball to hit right around there, less chance it gets poked at. Okay, next one's a little more unorthodox, but I say it's a move you have to have because there's gonna be certain situations where you need it. So this would be one. When you're taking a cross step and the defender jumps on it, but they're still really tight. So it makes it hard to change directions this way. But you know you wanna get into this space over here. It's called the crooked leg cross. So we know if we take this step, they're gonna jump hard, and then this behind the back from that position is difficult, but it gives us that space to get the ball around the defender where we can still keep it protected. One big thing with this one is you gotta make sure the defender has committed though, because you need that space to kick this foot out. So the foot that's doing the cross step is the one that you really need the space to get through after the behind the back. But on this move, you're basically gonna catch the basketball with your feet squared. So again, like the shuffle behind the back, you pretty much got unlimited options from there. And this is one you'll probably use less than the other ones, but again, you'll want it for those situations where you're in a pinch. So maybe once every game or two, you'll use it for where you absolutely need to. But it's also just a really good move once you get comfortable with it for setting up defenders and staying tight to them. Because if I can get that tight on my direction change, I have a huge advantage because boom, I'm already past them on that direction change. Versus on a regular crossover, I need a little more space, and now it's easy for them to get back in front of me since I'm further from them on the actual crossover. Next move is the double behind the back. And as you probably guessed, the second one's a wrap, so there's two ways we can do it. Let's talk about the setup dribble because you already know what the two second dribble options are. Just to give you a quick rundown of that though, you got your shuffle, right? Or you got your cross step one. Just depends on the spacing from the defender and how quick you're trying to get downhill. Cross step is better for when you're really trying to attack fast and tight. Shuffle's better when the defender's even tighter and you need to go a little more laterally, but it doesn't get you downhill as fast. And as for that first dribble, it's actually a sixth one that you'll need that we didn't talk about. It's your speed stop flat back behind the back. The reason we didn't talk about it is because it's a lot like your snatch back, except you can flip the footwork around and do it two different ways. And we're keeping our feet more square to the defender instead of stepping into their space. So we want to think about this one having the ability with the left hand dribbling to stop with right foot, left foot, but also being able to stop left foot, right foot, and get into that wrap behind the back. And you want to practice both and be in control of that because a lot of players will be comfortable with only one version and they'll try to do the other one. I've had players I worked with have this issue and over they'll keep doing the same footwork. So really take your time at first if you need to switch up that footwork. And the reason you need that separate footwork is because of spacing. We talked about how important it is to get close to the defender. Well, if we're in stride and my next step is going to be the right step close to the defender, I got to be able to stop right from that in this space. If I have to rely on taking another left step, I just ran right into them, or I'll get uncomfortable and bobble the ball or do something that's not effective. And vice versa, if this next step happens to be the left foot that's gonna be close to them, I wanna be able to stop with my next step and get into that behind the back. And then I also wanna be comfortable from either of those options getting into the shuffle or the cross step. A tip for this first flat back behind the back is try to get your feet wide. Gives you a wider base so you can change directions. If you need to, just go this way instead of going into the double behind the back, you can do that. But also, it allows my feet to get outside my defender's frame to give me more movement options to step through from or shuffle from. And like we talked about before, that'll get this hand lower so I can get into whatever I want to get into, such as that second behind the back quicker, but I can still float that ball up, take my time, but have much better control doing so. One other thing to note on the double behind the back that would change is we want to have our eyes looking this way because now the behind the back's the fake. So we're not using this to fake into the behind the back because we don't want the defender moving this way because that's where we're trying to go. You don't always want to predetermine moves and really all these you want to happen naturally, but every once in a while you're looking to set a move up because you know there's an open space on the court here where there's no help defense. In that scenario, you would want to look here early to try to get this guy to shift and bite more on this first behind the back so he moves, and then this space is more open. But yeah, if you want the fastest way to improve your ball control, get ball in a string. It's helped thousands of players. I know it'll help you too. It's pinned in the comments. Check it out. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button and I'll see you in Ball in a String next.